Okay, everybody. So now if you remember, when we did this in class, when we made 1 through 20 in class using 4 fours, I only allowed you to use addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and parentheses if you wanted to. Okay, those are the only things I allowed you to use. But then we learned in the homework, because the part of it too was going home once we had done the lab with the ones we couldn't do. Because there was at least a couple we couldn't get in class. And I said, I want you to go home and you can use a couple more special operators, special functions. And those two were called the factorial and the square root, both of which we talked about before we let you run loose with them. I want to go through the factorial first. Now, you might remember, I'm going to give you an example down here. 4 factorial is what happens when you start with 4 and then multiply it by every number decreasing by 1 until you get to 1. So 4 factorial is 4 times 3 is 12 times 2 is 24 times 1 is 24. So putting a 4 with an exclamation sign after it is a really handy way of getting the number 24. Okay? The problem is, in Excel, let's just try that in this next line right here. Let's type equals 4 exclamation point. When you press enter, it says it found a problem. It doesn't like that notation. Okay, so you can't use the exclamation sign with a number and have a factorial. As it turns out, the way to do this in Excel, and this is just the way Excel is you type FACT, left parentheses, then you type the number you want to factorial, and then right parentheses, and then press enter. Okay, so on paper or in Google, you would type 4 with an exclamation point. In Excel, you'd have to actually type fact 4, and don't forget the equal sign in front of it. You have to have an equal sign first. Equal sign fact 4. Where'd my equal sign go? Oh, it's up there. Let's put it down here. There. So equal sign fact 4. So that's a way to get a factorial. Now, when looking at that, you're looking at the factorial of 4. Notice it gets you to 24. That doesn't get you to 32, nor does it get you to 64. However, that's a good start for at least one of these. I know I used, when I did these myself, I did the factorial on at least one of them, maybe even 2. I don't remember. Okay, so that's one thing that you can do. Another thing you can do is use the square root. Okay, and the one that I think y'all ended up using in the lab was the square root of 4, which is equal to 2. Now, I can't put a symbol, the square root symbol, in this text box, but I'm just going to go ahead and tell you what the square root symbol, how you type the square root symbol in Excel. Okay, so let's suppose I wanted to do the square root of 4 right here. So I would type equals and then SQRT, left parentheses 4, right parentheses. Hopefully you're starting to see how Excel works with functions. It puts the function first and then the number it's applying the function to. This is called RPN, which is an old term that none of you probably remember. Okay, so square root 4 equals 2. So if you're feeling clever, you could realize that you could actually add square root of that 4 plus square root of that 4 plus the square root of that 4 plus the square root of that 4. And that's another way to get, I forgot one. 2 plus 2 plus 2. Oh yeah, another way to get 8. Excuse me, I'm thinking ahead of myself here. It's another way to get 8. 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. And you get 8. So that's it doesn't get you 64, but at the same time, if you're thinking cleverly, you might be able to use these square roots. And basically, what I want you to think about is this. The square root of 4 is 2. That is a way to turn a 4 into a 2. But check this out. You can also turn the square root of 4 times 4, and that is a way of turning 2 4s into 1 4. See what I'm saying there? Like if you're at the end of a problem and you've gotten the answer using 3 of your 4 4s, you can actually use the square root to get rid of a 4. Hopefully that makes sense. And if it doesn't, I know I did that at least once in here. I'm fairly certain. I could be lying to you, but I think I used that also. So use your square root. I mean, theoretically speaking, you could even use your, watch this, square root of 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. Now, that's great. It's going to get you 16. and that's another way of getting 16, but that's not going to help you much down here because that just burned all of your 4s and it's nowhere near big enough. So use your square roots, just use them wisely. The ones I can remember is square root of 4 is a way of generating a 2, and square root of 4 times 4 is a way of getting rid of a 4. Okay, those are going to come in handy for you, I think. The only other one that I used is one I don't think I let you use in class, only because it wouldn't help you, and that's the exponent, which in Excel is a caret. So in the world, when we write 4 to the 4th power, I wonder if I can do this in the text box. I think I can. Yeah, there you go. 4 to the 4th power, which is 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. Let me write that too so you see it. Equals, it's not superscripted anymore. Whoops, superscript, yes. That equals 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. Okay, now that wouldn't have helped us in our lab because we weren't. That's a huge number. You'll see how huge it is in a second. Well, it's huge by our lab's standards. So we didn't use exponents in the lab, but in Excel you have to type it a little bit differently. The way to type 4 to the 4th power in Excel is you would say equals 4 caret. Caret is above 6. 4. So I'm going to do that over here just so you can see it. Equals 4 caret 4. And when you do that, you get your 256, which again is not exactly equal to any of these numbers over here, but that's okay. You might find a clever way of using that to get one of these numbers over here. Because remember, it's 256 and you've only used 2 4s to get it, right? It means this, but you've only used 2 4s, which means you've got 2 more 4s to play with. So in other words, you can kind of use that fairly wisely. As a matter of fact, talking out loud, I can see how you can combine this with this to get that right there in a different way than I got it. So anyway, just talking out loud to myself. So the functions that I used for all of these are the normal ones we used in the lab, the 2 extras that we added to the homework, and the exponent, the caret, which I used at least in a couple of these. So that's the Excel formula breakdown I wanted to talk about. In the last video, I'm going to talk about these big numbers down here and what they mean and how to make sense of them. All right, coming up.